High prices and mortgage rates have kept home buyers on the sidelines, but they may finally see some relief. New data shows more than half of homes sold in May went for below asking price, on average $45,000 under listing. The report says buyers are now in a market primed for negotiations on price reduction, closing cost assistance, and mortgage rate buydowns. So, Kenny, this sounds like good news. Can it last?
Okay, back to me. No, Kenny, we don't need to hear your answer. Here's the thing. Uh, the news is always late. I swear, they're late on everything. I have never, as a real estate investor and someone who has been in the industry for, I don't know, almost 20 years, worked on the multifamily side, residential, commercial, the whole nine. I've never ever looked, and hate to use ever, but I'm using it in this instance. I've never ever had the news call something as it relates to real estate. I can't speak for other investments, but real estate in particular, and be accurate. They're usually way behind the ball, using the little baseball reference there, but they're behind it. They can't seem to be on top of it, and I think it's just because they're doing exactly what everyone on the internet's doing and what I'm doing. They're reacting to news rather than giving you information news. What I try to do is get ahead of it and try and look through the glass lens and just trying to see. Not that I'm ever right. My crystal ball is broken, then just like everyone else's is. But if you've been in the industry a while, you start to see patterns. You start to notice things. You're like, that's a little odd, because you're looking at it daily. The news is people, these producers or whatnot, they're not looking at it and studying it every single day. Because that's what it takes to be a good investor. You got to look at your market every day. Real estate's hyper local. You're not going to just turn on the news and get your information. You have to study your market, your buy box, right? Every single day. What does that mean? That means know what you're looking for. If you're looking for single family homes, you need to know, okay, how many bedrooms? You looking for a 3-bedroom, 2-bath? Great. 2-car garage? Okay. You need to know, limit that to your city, and within your city, what zip codes you want to look at, what school districts you have to really define what it is you're looking for. And then now you have a buy box. And generally it takes 60 to 90 days of looking daily to see what things are trading for, what are they selling for. It gives you a sense of the market. Once the news usually shows up and says, "Hey, real estate's crashed," we've already like almost been out of it or getting ready to turn the corner on it. This has been the best buyer's market in probably a decade. And you're probably saying like, "Oh, you're crazy, you're this and that." No, if you really step back and think about it, right now there's not a lot of competition out there. Well, there hasn't been a lot of competition out there for why? Because rates have been high. And I've made videos last year talking about, this is the time to buy if you want to get in. This is the time to get, if you got all your ducks in a row and you're, write those disrespectful offers. This is your window. Now more than ever, once rates go lower, guess what? Real estate prices are going to go up, and then it's going to flip back to a seller's market. Now you're out. You can still buy a house, but it's just going to have to work a little harder. You're going to have to move very fast. You're going to have to write your offers very quickly. So I'm reviewing this video more of just a warning sign how ridiculous the news is. And this is across the board. This is not particular to Fox. They all do this. Once they start talking about something, you're probably too late. Let's continue on. Let's see what was it, Kenny? Let's see what Kenny has to say.
Listen, I think it is good news. I think it's overdone. I think housing prices have gotten way overdone, and they needed to correct. And I've been saying that for a while, that rates should stay where they are and mortgage rates should stay where they are to force a correction in the housing market, which is what we're starting to see. Now, do I think it can last? It can last unless mortgage rates suddenly start to go lower, and then it's going to ignite the housing market again, which is really kind of what you don't want to see happen.
So that's everybody's hope, though. Everybody's hope has been mortgage rates come down.
Correct.
And that's probably going to stoke buying, but it's also going to get sellers off the sideline. Maybe that's the theory, Jackie. Are you as concerned as Kenny that if rates do come down, this thing's going to heat up again?
What you got for us, Jackie?
I definitely think it would heat up again.
You're interested in sellers. You want to talk about sellers.
I've been thinking about the sellers, and this has been just a big game of chicken. When the rates went up, they all put their dream number on, house on the market for the dream number. I got to get this to be able to move. When they weren't getting it, they would take it off the market. A lot of people have those low interest rate mortgages, and they're like, what's the incentive for me to move or to go somewhere? But then time passes and life events happen, or sometimes you're forced to sell for various reasons, and it just sort of takes some time to get those people up to bat. And I think that's what we're starting to see, that tipping point where people are having to sell for various reasons, and therefore they understand the buyers don't have the money to make the math work with mortgage rates where they are, so the prices have to come down. Right. When this all happened and interest rates went up, we were like, yay, prices are going to come down. They didn't. Typically or historically the way we have seen them before, because the ball game is a little bit different right now. But I think even if Powell cuts a quarter of a point or a half a point, I'm not talking about what did you say, 1.5 points by the end of next year?
Right.
I'm not saying that drastically, but a little bit. I think that it's a very delicate dance of how much you want to turn the heat up on this market. Correct. Versus getting the rest of the sellers to come to terms with and accept what their home is actually worth when rates are higher.
Jonathan, you're a markets correct over time. Markets are self-correcting. Okay, but hold on, because I hear you on that. But this housing market, in terms of prices, to Jackie's point, has not done that. Like, that's the frustrating thing. Something should have happened.
How do I get these? How do these people get on these big networks and these jobs? Like, just give me a little guest spot. I'll just be on there. Here's the thing. She's right in her thought process. Again, if interest rates come down, it's going to get very competitive, and it's going to leave from being a buyer's market to a seller's market. This is why I've been telling people for well over 6 months, you should not be writing ask what list pricing offers. You should not be writing list priced offers. You should be writing below list price, period. And even to the point you're disrespectful. If things turn around, which they will eventually, and I think 2026 is going to be probably a good year for real estate. I'm not saying you can't find a deal, but it's just going to be harder and more competitive. So just be careful what you wish for. If you're one of those people that, you want to crash because you're going to, don't try to time the market. You try to time the market and you get swept away. So that's just my 2 cents. I'm going to leave a link in the description on this video. Let me know. You guys let me know what you think. I'm sorry, I'm all frazzled by this because I can't believe how delayed the news is. It just baffles me. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and share. I really appreciate you guys. And yeah, we'll get to it.